Imagine this. You're part of a team preparing for an important event. The leader of your group is juggling multiple responsibilities, managing expectations, and trying to keep everyone on track. Amid the chaos, you notice something. They seem overwhelmed, isolated even, despite their position of authority. You, as an introvert, have a choice. You could stay in the background, or you could step up in a way that feels natural to you, by offering quiet, consistent support. This isn't about taking over or drawing attention to yourself. It's about being a steady presence that helps the leader focus on what truly matters. Supporting leadership isn't about charisma or loud commands. It's about showing up with reliability, thoughtfulness, and trust. This is the heart of what it means to build influence by supporting others. At its core, being an introverted leader who supports others is about recognizing that leadership isn't always about being the loudest voice in the room. Instead, it's about creating an environment where the person in charge feels secure, backed, and able to lead with confidence. Introverted leaders excel in observing, listening, and offering insights without overshadowing the person they are supporting. They know that leadership isn't a solo act, it's a partnership. When you, as an introvert, step into this supportive role, you aren't diminishing your value, you're amplifying it by helping others succeed. This situation isn't rare. In fact, it's incredibly common in nonprofits, corporate teams, and political campaigns alike. Leaders often find themselves surrounded by people who are either hesitant to step up or overly eager to challenge authority. But the quiet, supportive leader, the one who isn't looking for credit but is focused on outcomes, is a rare and valuable asset. Think about famous leaders who had strong, supportive figures beside them. These partnerships weren't based on loud gestures. They were built on trust, consistency, and shared goals. If you're feeling frustrated because your supportive efforts don't seem to be noticed or valued, you're not alone. Many introverted leaders find themselves wondering if their quiet contributions are making a difference. It can feel isolating to operate in the background, especially when others might misinterpret your support as trying to gain favor or brown-nosing. But here's the truth. Your role is essential. The impact of your steady presence and consistent actions often becomes visible over time, even if it isn't immediately recognized. The ripple effects of supportive leadership are undeniable. In a nonprofit organization, a volunteer who supports their campaign manager with consistent reliability can create a stable foundation for team operations. In a corporate setting, a team member who supports their manager with clear communication and follow-through can reduce stress and improve team morale. In political campaigns, those working behind the scenes, ensuring tasks are completed without fuss, often contribute significantly to the team's overall success. These roles might not always be glamorous, but they are irreplaceable. Here's the good news. This ability to lead by supporting isn't something you're either born with or not. It's a skill, a practice you can refine and strengthen over time. With the right tools, frameworks, and self-awareness, you can learn to navigate the balance of supporting leadership while also maintaining your own identity and confidence. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present, reliable, and willing to invest in the bigger picture. The resources you need aren't complex. They start with a willingness to observe, listen, and act intentionally. Books, coaching programs, peer feedback, and even small daily habits like journaling your reflections after team meetings can make a significant difference. The most powerful resource, however, is your mindset. The belief that supporting leadership is not a lesser role, but a deeply influential one. Does this sound familiar to you? Have you found yourself in situations where your quiet support made a difference, even if it went unnoticed at first? If so, know that your contribution matters. Supporting leadership isn't about fading into the background. It's about creating a strong foundation for success. And the best part? This is something you can continue to grow in, refine, and master. You're already on the path. Let's keep going together. As we've explored the powerful yet understated role of introverted leadership, you may find yourself wondering, how does this apply to me? What challenges might arise as I step into a supportive role? And how can I ensure my quiet contributions don't go unnoticed? Let's delve deeper into the common hurdles that introverted leaders face and uncover practical steps to overcome them. Right now, you might find yourself in a place of uncertainty. You believe in supporting leadership, but it feels challenging when others misinterpret your intentions or when your contributions go unnoticed. Perhaps you're questioning whether your quiet style of influence can truly make an impact. These doubts are natural, But here's the truth. Every great leader started somewhere, and every supportive leader faced similar struggles. The difference is that they chose to start, to learn, and to grow. You're already on the right path by recognizing your role and your potential. Leadership, especially through upward support, isn't about instant results. It's about consistent effort, small wins, and building trust over time. The first step in mastering this skill is self-awareness. Take a moment to reflect on your strengths. Are you a good listener? Do you notice small details others might miss? Are you reliable when someone needs help? Write these qualities down and own them. Self-awareness is the foundation of growth. Step 2 is intentional practice. Start small. In your next team interaction, focus on being fully present. Offer support where it's needed without hesitation or second-guessing. Sometimes, the most impactful leadership moments come from simply showing up and following through. Step 3 is seek feedback and mentorship. Find someone you trust, a peer, a mentor, or even your leader, and ask them about your strengths and areas for improvement. Honest feedback will accelerate your growth. Introverted leaders can inspect their leadership qualities by asking reflective questions. How do I handle pressure? Do I communicate clearly and thoughtfully? Do I lead through example or direct authority? Self-inspection often involves journaling thoughts after significant interactions, identifying patterns in how you lead, and comparing your self-perception with feedback from others. To determine which of your leadership qualities are introverted, look for traits like deep listening, thoughtful decision-making, preference for one-on-one interactions, and a focus on meaningful over surface-level conversations. These strengths align with introverted leadership, while weaknesses might include overthinking decisions, avoiding confrontation, or struggling to assert your ideas in group settings. Now imagine where you could be in 6 months or a year if you commit to these steps. Picture walking into a room and being recognized as someone who brings calm, clarity, and trust to the team. Your leader sees you not just as a team member, but as someone they can rely on without question. You've built a reputation for integrity, consistency, and thoughtful contributions. Over time, your influence expands beyond just supporting your leader. It begins to shape the culture of your team. The quiet strength you bring inspires others to step up, to trust more deeply, and to follow your example. For the team, the effects are equally powerful. A leader who feels supported is a leader who can lead with focus and confidence. Your actions create ripple effects. Tasks are completed efficiently, communication improves, and morale rises. Trust becomes the foundation of your team's culture, and that trust fuels collaboration. When one person models supportive leadership, others begin to follow suit. Over 3 to 6 months, the team starts functioning with greater cohesion and purpose. Challenges are met with shared responsibility, and victories are celebrated collectively. Beyond the team, the community feels the impact as well. A team led by someone who embodies supportive leadership creates outcomes that are visible and tangible. Projects are completed on time, events run smoothly, and the people involved feel valued and heard. The ripple effect of your quiet influence extends outward, reaching stakeholders, partners, and even the broader community. Trust builds bridges, and bridges create opportunities for collaboration, growth, and shared success. In the long term, your dedication to supporting leadership can help create a culture where reliability, integrity, and accountability are valued by everyone. But growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens through intention. Here are 3 small but powerful actions you can take today to begin this journey. First, write down your strengths and reflect on your leadership style. Be honest about where you excel and where you struggle. Second, commit to one intentional act of support in your next interaction with your leader or team. It could be as simple as following through on a task or offering encouragement to someone who needs it. Third, seek out one resource to help you grow: a book, a podcast, or a conversation with a mentor. Leadership growth happens in moments of reflection and in action. You don't have to have it all figured out today. Leadership isn't about perfection. It's about showing up consistently and being willing to grow. Every small step you take today builds momentum for tomorrow. Supporting leadership isn't a lesser role. It's a powerful one. You are not just part of the team. You are an essential part of its success. Your contributions matter, and your influence is already making a difference, even if you can't see it yet. Take a deep breath, trust your process, and know that every step forward counts. Understanding these challenges is only the beginning. To see supportive leadership in action, let's turn to a real-world example. Meet Robert, a campaign manager navigating the pressures of leadership with the help of an introverted volunteer whose quiet influence is shaping the team in unexpected ways. It's a brisk Saturday morning, and the team gathers for a door-knocking campaign. The energy in the room is mixed. Some volunteers are fired up, others are hesitant, clutching their flyers with nervous smiles. Robert, the campaign manager, scans the group, his eyes landing on one volunteer. This volunteer isn't loud or overly confident. They're quiet, introverted, and focused, already organizing materials for their team. While others chatter nervously, this volunteer moves with purpose and calm determination. What Robert doesn't realize is that this volunteer has developed a strong personal belief. Leaders need to feel supported to succeed. They aren't interested in being the center of attention or gaining praise. They are here to ensure Robert can lead effectively. It's a mindset that sets them apart, even if it goes unnoticed by most. As the group fans out into the neighborhood, Robert keeps an eye on the volunteer. While others hesitate at doorsteps, stumble through their scripts, or look over their shoulders for reassurance, this volunteer takes a deep breath, steps forward, and knocks on the first door. Their voice is steady as they deliver their pitch. They aren't trying to charm or persuade through flashy charisma. They're simply showing up, following through, and doing the job with quiet confidence. By midday, the results speak for themselves. Their section of the neighborhood is thoroughly covered, conversations have been meaningful, and the volunteer's calm consistency has made an impact. Robert notices. He feels the support in a way that words can't fully capture. It's steady, reliable, and deeply affirming. For Robert, this kind of support feels transformative. In the middle of the pressures of campaign management, deadlines, and conflicting personalities, knowing that someone on his team is quietly, unwaveringly backing him gives him room to breathe. He feels less isolated, more focused, and better equipped to handle the day's challenges. But this kind of support doesn't come without cost. The volunteer faces sideways glances, cold shoulders, and whispers from others who see their loyalty as misplaced. Words like brown-noser float in the air. Some volunteers subtly avoid them, others outright question their motives. At one point, another volunteer mutters under their breath, "Why are they trying so hard to impress Robert? Are they looking for special treatment?" The introverted volunteer hears it but doesn't react. Their focus remains on the task at hand, and their commitment doesn't waver. Later in the afternoon, Robert catches a brief moment to speak with the volunteer one-on-one. They're both leaning against a table stacked with flyers, the hum of conversations filling the background. "I've noticed your consistency today," Robert says, his voice low but sincere. "It's been incredible to see how steady and focused you've been. I want you to know, it hasn't gone unnoticed." The volunteer looks up, a flicker of surprise crossing their face before they nod. "Thank you. I just think, if you're leading us, then you need to know someone's got your back." Robert feels a tight knot in his chest loosen. The simplicity and sincerity of the volunteer's words strike him deeply. This isn't about ambition or favoritism. It's about shared responsibility and trust. However, the conflict continues to brew. As the day wraps up, Robert overhears two volunteers complaining about the introverted volunteer's approach. "They're just trying to look good," one says dismissively. Robert feels a pang of frustration, but stops himself from intervening immediately. He knows that respect and trust aren't built overnight, and he wants to handle the situation thoughtfully. The next morning, Robert addresses the team. "Yesterday, I saw something remarkable. One of our volunteers showed what true leadership looks like. Not through loud commands or big gestures, but through consistent action and quiet support. That's the kind of effort that keeps us moving forward." He doesn't name the volunteer, but those who were paying attention know exactly who he's talking about. The volunteer sits quietly in the corner, a faint smile playing at the edges of their mouth. Robert is left with lingering questions. How can I show my gratitude to this volunteer? How can I ensure they don't burn out under the weight of their quiet efforts? And how can this model of quiet, consistent support become something the entire team strives for? The power of quiet leadership, rooted in support and consistency, is now undeniable. For Robert, it's more than just helpful, it's essential. Robert's story highlights the transformative power of quiet, consistent support. But how can this approach be cultivated and replicated across teams? It starts with intentional action, trust building, and a shared commitment to growth. Let's explore the practical steps you can take to lead through support and make a lasting impact. The sun dipped low in the sky as Robert gathered his team back at the campaign office after a long day of door-knocking. The hum of exhausted chatter filled the air as volunteers trickled in, dropping stacks of flyers on tables and sinking into chairs. Robert stood at the front of the room, clutching his notes, his heart thudding with a mix of determination and hesitation. Today was revealing, not just about his team, but about himself. The quiet, consistent support from one introverted volunteer had struck a chord with him, and he couldn't let that moment pass unnoticed. Clearing his throat, Robert began speaking. "I want to thank you all for your hard work today. Each of you played an important role, and it shows in the results we achieved together." He paused, scanning the room. "But there's something I need to address. I realized today that leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about trust. Trusting myself, trusting you, and earning your trust in return." The room was silent. Some volunteers looked down at their hands. Others exchanged quick glances. Robert continued, his voice steady despite the vulnerability in his words. "I know I haven't always gotten this right. Sometimes I've held back from asking for help because I thought it would make me look weak. But leadership isn't about pretending to be perfect. It's about showing up, being honest, and leaning on each other when things get tough." His words hung in the air, and for a moment, Robert felt the weight of his admission pressing down on him. But then, slowly, something shifted. Hannah, one of the more outspoken volunteers, raised her hand. "Robert, I think you're doing better than you realize." Today felt different. There was more focus, more direction. I think we all felt it. A ripple of agreement spread across the room. Another volunteer spoke up. "Yeah, it felt like we were working together instead of just checking tasks off a list." Robert nodded, gratitude softening his expression. "Thank you for saying that. It means a lot. And moving forward, I want us to keep building on this trust. But I can't do it alone. I need each of you to step up in your own way, to own your responsibilities, and to support each other." To demonstrate his commitment, Robert turned to the introverted volunteer who had stood out earlier. "You've been an example of what quiet leadership looks like," he said, meeting their eyes. "Would you be willing to help lead our next outreach event? You've shown a level of focus and consistency that we need more of." The volunteer hesitated, their eyes flicking around the room before settling back on Robert. "I'll do my best," they said softly. The shift in the room was subtle but undeniable. Skepticism lingered on a few faces, but there was also a sense of hope, a feeling that things might actually change for the better. Small nods, faint smiles, and shared glances hinted at a collective sense of renewal. Robert feels an immediate shift from the quiet support of the introverted volunteer. On a personal level, he feels less isolated in his role as campaign manager. Knowing someone genuinely believes in his leadership relieves some of the weight on his shoulders. This trust allows Robert to focus on strategic decisions rather than micromanaging every detail, empowering him to lead with more confidence and clarity. For the campaign, the volunteers' steady approach sets an unspoken standard. Their consistency inspires others to step up, showing that leadership isn't about being loud. It's about being reliable and committed. The team begins to notice the volunteers' calm presence and starts modeling their behavior, leading to better organization and a stronger sense of purpose. In the community, the volunteer sincerity shines through. Residents are more receptive to their message because it feels authentic. This ripple effect strengthens trust between the campaign and the community, fostering a sense of shared purpose and genuine connection. As the team began to disperse, Robert felt something he hadn't felt in weeks: cautious optimism. It wasn't that everything was suddenly perfect, but there was momentum, and it felt real. For the first time, Robert realized that leadership wasn't about carrying the weight alone. It was about empowering others to carry it with him. Later, as Robert sat at his desk reviewing the day's notes, he let himself pause and reflect. He knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be more doubts, more missteps, and more resistance. But today had shown him something valuable. Progress happens in small steps, and trust is built one moment at a time. Robert leaned back in his chair, letting out a slow breath. The team had responded to honesty, and they had responded to trust. That was something he could build on. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, Robert allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. Now that we've outlined the steps to develop supportive leadership, it's time to reflect. What have we learned about quiet influence? And how can these lessons shape your journey as an introverted leader? Let's conclude with key takeaways and an invitation to continue growing together. As we wrap up this journey together, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've uncovered about leadership, support, and the power of quiet influence. In Scene 1, we recognize the unique challenges introverted leaders face when stepping into supportive roles. We defined what it means to build influence by supporting leadership and acknowledged how common these struggles are across various industries and teams. We started with honesty and vulnerability, recognizing that leadership begins with a willingness to show up. In Scene 2, we confronted the self-doubt that often accompanies stepping into leadership as an introvert. We talked about practical steps to overcome hesitation and start building the confidence needed to lead effectively. By focusing on small, actionable changes, we learned that growth isn't about grand gestures. It's about consistency and intention. During Robert's story, we learned more about Robert and his experience as a campaign manager. Through his interactions with a quiet yet consistent and introverted volunteer, we saw the profound impact of supportive leadership in action. We witnessed how quiet influence can cut through noise, how consistency can reshape a team's dynamic, and how supporting leadership isn't about chasing recognition. It's about results. As we reached a turning point, Robert took his first courageous step toward change. By admitting his struggles and asking for his team's trust, he created space for honesty, vulnerability, and growth. Through small but significant actions, Robert began to empower his team, setting a standard that would ripple outward into both the campaign and the broader community. So, where does that leave you, the introverted leader? Right here, with an opportunity to grow. Take a moment this week to invest in your leadership journey. The objective this week is to learn the difference between introvert versus extrovert leaders and how they can support the leaders around them. Spend an hour each day reflecting on your strengths, journaling your thoughts, talking with other leaders, or finding a resource that inspires growth. Small actions, taken consistently, lead to transformative results. You might be asking, can I really do this? The answer is yes. Millions of introverted leaders around the world have faced the challenges of supporting other leaders and overcome them through intentional effort. You are not alone in this journey, and every step forward counts. If this message resonates with you, we invite you to become part of our growing community. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join a network of leaders who believe in quiet influence, steady support, and meaningful change. Together, we can continue to grow, lead, and inspire. Thank you for being here, for investing in your growth, and for believing in the value of leadership through support. We value you, and we can't wait to see the difference you'll make in your team, your community, and beyond. Before you go, ask yourself, what's the first small step you can take today to learn more about being an introverted leader and supporting other leaders? Reflect on it, write it down, and take action. Remember, as you don't have to be loud to lead. Sometimes, the most powerful leadership happens quietly, through support, trust, and consistent action. Susan Cain. Susan Cain is the author of Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. Here is another quote from Simon Sinek. Leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. Simon Sinek is the author of the famous book, Start With Why. In our next video, we'll dive deeper into actionable strategies for building trust within your team. Stay tuned and keep leading with purpose.